We are looking at 55 of the most absurd, mind-numbing complaints people actually left for drive-in movie theaters. Imagine having a giant outdoor screen, the comfort of your own car, and still finding a way to get furious at nature, physics, and your own terrible decisions. If you thought regular customers were bad, wait until they get behind the wheel with a bucket of popcorn. Let us get straight to the madness. 1. An angry rancher from out of town wrote a lengthy letter to a rural drive-in after being denied entry at the ticket booth. He tried to literally ride his fully grown horse into the parking lot, claiming it was technically his primary mode of transportation. When the staff explained that a 1,000-pound farm animal cannot safely stand between moving vehicles in the dark, he accused them of hating traditional cowboys. He seriously expected a horse to just stand perfectly still for 3 hours. 2. A guy loudly demanded a full refund for his entire family because his car battery suddenly died halfway through the weekend double feature. He left his headlights glowing, blasted the air conditioning, and pumped the stereo for 3 straight hours without the engine running once. Instead of calling a tow truck or asking for a jump, he stormed the concession stand and blamed the guy making cotton candy for not warning him about how modern automobiles work. 3. A woman from out of town wrote an absurdly lengthy email to a Texas drive-in threatening legal action over a mosquito bite. She claimed the theater was negligent for not stringing a giant bug net over the entire 10-acre parking lot. She honestly felt that stepping outside of her expensive SUV in the middle of July should come with a strict bug-free guarantee from the business owners. Have you ever encountered someone this totally detached from the realities of the great outdoors? 4. Management at an Ohio drive-in framed a review from a customer who was furious that there were no giant outdoor speakers blasting the movie audio into the local surrounding neighborhoods. The concept of simply tuning their own car radio to the FM frequency clearly displayed on the giant screen was apparently a bridge too far. They sat in total awkward silence for 2 straight hours, eating cold nachos, and then fiercely complained that the dialogue was completely impossible to hear. 5. Leaving a scathing review online, a young couple complained that the movie screen was way too far from their windshield. They purposely parked in the very last row by the dirt access road to make a quick getaway after the show, then got incredibly angry that the 60-foot screen looked too small. They furiously demanded that the theater staff physically move the massive steel screen structure closer to their specific parking spot, and actually threatened to call the police over false advertising. 6. This one defies all earthly logic and basic common sense. A grown man demanded to speak with a shift manager because the seats were severely hurting his lower back. When the staff walked out and asked exactly where he was sitting, he pointed directly to the driver's seat of his own 1998 Honda Civic. He genuinely believed the drive-in theater was legally responsible for the poor lumbar support inside his personal vehicle. What would you even say to a customer who wants you to magically fix his own car seats perfectly? 7. An incredibly paranoid driver left early and demanded a refund because a random pigeon landed directly on the hood of his sedan. He claimed the bird was intensely staring at him through the windshield, creating a highly hostile viewing environment that made it impossible to safely focus on the comedy film. He actively accused the outdoor theater of illegally harboring aggressive local wildlife and fully expected the busy security guard to stand by his bumper and manually shoo away any passing birds. 8. Management received a highly aggressive email from a guy who claimed the movie was entirely too blurry and completely out of focus. When the staff investigated, they realized his actual windshield was absolutely covered in thick layers of pollen, dried mud, and crushed bugs. Instead of feeling embarrassed and simply using his own wiper fluid, he boldly asserted that the theater should provide complimentary car washes at the entrance gate. He genuinely felt his personal vehicle hygiene was somehow the projectionist's immediate responsibility. 9. Someone left a deeply offended comment on a drive-in Facebook page because the hot dogs they brought from their own kitchen got totally cold by the time the movie started. They fully expected the outdoor theater to provide functioning microwaves at every single parking spot, so people who sneaked in their own snacks could enjoy a hot meal. They officially boycotted the family business over cold wieners they cooked and wrapped in aluminum foil themselves. 10. A furious father demanded free VIP passes for a year after it started pouring rain right in the middle of a romantic comedy. He was not mad that the movie stopped, because the projection kept right on playing. He was enraged that he had to run his squeaky windshield wipers to see the screen, which he claimed was a massive distraction and totally ruined the perfect cinematic experience. He literally expected a local business to control the regional weather patterns effortlessly. 11. A woman left a furious voicemail complaining that the smell of her own nachos attracted a stray cat to her car door. She rolled her window down to pet the animal, gave it some warm cheese, and then got incredibly angry when the cat refused to leave. She demanded the theater dispatch animal control immediately and claimed the business was running an illegal feline petting zoo. Why do people feed stray animals and then act shocked when they stick around for the whole movie? 12. A wildly irritated grandmother left an angry voicemail demanding the immediate extermination of all local crickets because their chirping ruined the tension of a thriller. She deliberately parked by a natural muddy pond at the edge of the property, rolled all her windows completely down, and felt victimized by the amphibian population. She honestly expected the minimum wage teenage staff to march straight into the murky wetlands and politely asked the bullfrogs to keep their voices down until the final closing credits finally rolled. 13. Management received a furious handwritten letter from a guy deeply offended by the strong smell of buttered popcorn floating through the evening breeze. He parked his convertible right next to the busy concession stand with the top down, yet claimed the delicious aroma was a deliberate corporate tactic to secretly brainwash him into buying snacks. He fiercely demanded the theater install giant industrial exhaust fans to push the scent of freshly fried food far away from his strictly organic personal breathing space. 14. Someone driving a pristine luxury sports car threatened to formally sue a rural drive-in because navigating their unpaved lot got his tires slightly dusty. He bypassed the neatly paved front rows, aggressively drove deep into the dirt overflow area, and threw a massive temper tantrum when his glossy rims lost their flawless showroom shine. He demanded the theater pay for a professional detailing service immediately on the spot. 15. An incredibly sleepy customer complained to the regional manager that the weekend double feature was way too long and forced him to stay up past his regular bedtime. He fell asleep during the opening trailers, woke up completely disoriented 3 hours later when the lot was emptying, and angrily blamed the projectionist for not personally knocking on his window. He truly felt that carefully monitoring the deep sleep cycles of a grown man, snoring loudly in a minivan, was a core operational responsibility of the teenage theater staff. 16. This specific complaint is an absolute masterpiece of zero spatial awareness. A stubborn driver forcefully demanded the theater tow a heavy-duty pickup truck that was blocking his view of the screen. The hilarious catch is that the giant truck was legally parked first, and this angry customer actively chose to pull his compact hatchback directly behind it in an otherwise empty viewing row. Instead of simply shifting his car 10 feet to the left, he genuinely wanted a tow truck to forcibly remove a perfectly innocent movie-going patron. 17. A local mechanic was baffled when a confused customer left a nasty review claiming the drive-in radio frequency magically siphoned 3 gallons of gas right out of her tank. She sat idling her engine for 2 straight hours to keep the heater running, but logically concluded that the invisible radio waves were secretly draining her fuel. She demanded immediate financial compensation for the exact market value of unleaded gasoline, totally refusing to accept that running an engine constantly for a double feature naturally burns through actual liquid fuel. 18. During a sold-out blockbuster premiere, an angry teenager marched up to the projection booth and aggressively demanded they pause the entire movie so he could use the restroom. When the operator gently explained that hundreds of paying customers were watching the thrilling climax, the kid loudly accused them of violating his basic human rights. He seriously expected a massive field of 200 separate vehicles to patiently sit in absolute dead darkness for 10 whole minutes just so he could safely go buy a warm salted pretzel. 19. A very important businessman demanded the entire feature film be paused because he received an unexpected phone call from his boss. He stepped out of his car, waved his arms wildly at the projection booth, and yelled that he needed 5 minutes of absolute silence to close a massive real estate deal. When the movie naturally kept playing, he marched over to the snack bar and threatened to buy the entire property just to fire the teenage staff. He truly believed an entire audience should wait for his personal networking call. 20. Leaving perhaps the most baffling feedback ever recorded, one emotional driver gave a strict 2-star rating simply because the movie eventually ended naturally and they had to drive home. They brought soft blankets, fluffy pillows, and a large cooler, fully planning to just live freely in the parking lot until Monday morning. When the security guard gently tapped on their window at 2 in the morning to say the private property was closing, they loudly accused the family theater of running a cruel illegal eviction scam against loyal paying moviegoers. 21. One incredibly invested moviegoer demanded a cash refund because the characters on the screen completely ignored his loud warning honks. During a tense horror movie, he laid on his car horn for a solid minute to warn the main character not to go into the dark basement. When the actor inevitably went downstairs anyway, the driver stormed the box office, furious that the pre-recorded cast lacked basic survival skills. He honestly thought it was a live interactive play happening just for him. 22. A furious pet owner left a scathing online review after bringing her golden retriever to a special 3-dimensional movie night. She was absolutely livid that the ticket booth did not provide custom-fitted glasses for her dog's exact head shape. She claimed her furry companion was deeply confused by the blurry on-screen visuals and demanded full financial compensation for her pet's ruined evening. Have you ever met someone who genuinely believes a dog cares about the visual fidelity of a modern summer blockbuster? 23. A confused woman threatened to sue the drive-in because she woke up the next morning with a completely flat tire parked in her own residential garage. She drove over a massive nail in her own neighborhood, but logically concluded that the smooth dirt parking lot at the theater was totally responsible. She demanded the theater instantly buy her a whole new set of premium tires, completely ignoring the fact that her driveway was currently under heavy residential construction. 24. Facing the entirely wrong direction is a classic rookie mistake, but this guy took it to another level of absurdity. He parked his heavy-duty truck facing screen 2 while perfectly tuning his radio to the exact audio frequency for screen 1. After watching a quiet romantic comedy while listening to the explosive audio of a high-speed action thriller, he loudly complained that the plot made absolutely zero sense. He refused to admit his silly parking error and insisted the director was just totally incompetent. 25. A teenager left a 1-star review because the outdoor parking lot did not have high-speed wireless internet available. The kicker is that she did not just want to check her email. She specifically wanted to stream a completely different movie on her personal laptop while sitting directly in front of a massive 60-foot theater screen. She officially declared the business completely useless because she could not easily connect to Netflix. Who drives out to a giant cinema just to stare at a tiny laptop screen anyway? 26. Someone driving a luxury convertible demanded the theater cover the high cost of his ruined leather interior after a sudden summer rainstorm. He deliberately left his roof completely down to enjoy the warm night air, fell fast asleep before the opening credits, and woke up totally soaked. Instead of taking personal responsibility for his own vehicle's automated roof mechanism, he blamed the teenage staff for not running out with a giant waterproof tarp to magically protect a sleeping stranger's expensive car. 27. An angry driver actually asked the theater to pay for his brand new alternator. He mistakenly thought that playing the movie audio at maximum volume would somehow make the film play faster, so he cranked his massive aftermarket subwoofers until his entire chassis vibrated. When his car completely died in the middle of the third act, he marched to the concession stand and claimed the specific frequency of the movie dialogue was intentionally engineered to destroy his vehicle's electrical system. 28. A highly sensitive viewer sent a long, formal email complaining that the theater's concession snacks were acoustically disruptive. He argued that the fresh popcorn was far too crunchy and completely ruined his concentration during the dramatic, silent moments of the indie film he was watching. He seriously requested that management only sell soft foods like pudding or mashed potatoes so that the natural chewing sounds of hundreds of people sitting inside their own separate cars would not bother his personal cinematic experience. 29. Showing up slightly late is one thing, but this family arrived 2 full hours after the scheduled start time and demanded the operator immediately rewind the film. When told the digital projection system simply does not work like a living room DVD player, the father threw an absolute fit right at the ticket booth. He aggressively argued that since he paid full admission, he legally owned that specific screening. Why do people think public businesses revolve entirely around their personal delayed schedules? 30. A historic theater in upstate New York received a highly aggressive phone call, demanding they immediately turn off the large white spotlight above the trees because it was washing out the movie screen. The teenage employee had to step outside, look up at the night sky, and politely inform the angry caller that the spotlight in question was actually the bright full moon. The stubborn caller refused to back down and still demanded they find a way to block it before hanging up in a total rage. 31. A furious couple demanded their money back after a heavy coastal fog rolled in during the thrilling climax of a mystery film. They could barely see the giant screen through the thick white mist and completely lost their minds at the concession stand. They seriously argued that the theater should have installed massive industrial-grade weather vacuums to suck the moisture directly out of the night air. How disconnected from reality do you have to be to demand a local business physically alter the local climate? 32. We have a bizarre review from a family who left 10 minutes into the main feature because seeing all the parked cars around them triggered their rush hour traffic anxiety. They willingly drove out to a massive open field to watch a movie in their car, but felt the environment was just too stressful and urban for their personal liking. They actually suggested the theater should build individual private garages for every single vehicle to ensure total uninterrupted isolation. 33. This one requires a special level of technical incompetence. A driver tuned his radio to a local country music station instead of the clearly advertised FM frequency for the movie audio. He sat through an incredibly intense, terrifying slasher film while listening to upbeat banjo music and cheerful songs about broken tractors. After the credits finally rolled, he marched up to the manager and loudly complained that the director made terrible, highly inappropriate choices for the official movie soundtrack. 34. A stubborn driver refused to figure out how to turn off his bright daytime running lights, completely blinding everyone parked in the 3 rows ahead of him. When a security guard kindly offered him a piece of cardboard to temporarily cover the glaring bulbs, the man started screaming about his constitutional rights. He actively claimed that blocking his headlights would make his parked, stationary car a massive safety hazard to imaginary oncoming traffic. Why do some people act like basic courtesy is a vicious personal attack? 35. One particularly lazy moviegoer caused a massive scene because his external pizza delivery got totally lost in the crowded parking lot. He ordered food from a restaurant 5 miles away, put the blue truck by the speaker pole as his official address, and then blamed the theater when his pepperoni pie arrived ice cold. He furiously demanded the drive-in reimburse him for the ruined dinner, completely ignoring the fact that he deliberately bypassed their own fully stocked concession stand just to cause unnecessary logistical chaos. 36. A woman brought her own expensive zero-gravity lounge chairs to set up on the grass, right in front of her minivan. Around midnight, the natural evening dew settled, making the lawn slightly damp under her bare feet. She immediately packed up her vehicle, stormed the box office, and demanded they install radiant heating coils underneath the entire outdoor field to keep the ground perfectly dry. She honestly expected a massive dirt lot to have the exact same luxury climate control as her cozy living room. 37. One amateur astronomer loudly demanded a cash refund because the actual shining stars in the clear night sky were distracting him from a sci-fi movie. He claimed natural constellations ruined the special effects and insisted the theater invest in a giant opaque dome to block out the universe. The manager had to gently explain that enclosing an outdoor theater fundamentally defeats the core purpose of a drive-in. Could you imagine complaining that the literal expanding galaxy is ruining your casual Friday night entertainment? 38. A family decided to watch the double feature out of the back of their spacious SUV with the trunk wide open. However, they completely failed to disable the interior dome lights, essentially turning their vehicle into a giant glowing beacon for every moth in the county. After getting swarmed by harmless flying insects for an hour, the father angrily demanded the staff spray a toxic cloud of chemical bug repellent directly over his open car to magically fix his own glaringly obvious mistake. 39. It is a beloved, decades-old drive-in tradition for people to briefly honk their horns to cheer for a truly great movie ending. But one highly anxious driver completely panicked when the final credits rolled and the celebratory honking suddenly began. He furiously dialed the local emergency police line, genuinely believing he was instantly trapped in a violent, high-speed traffic jam in the middle of a stationary grassy field. He later tried to sue the theater for intentional infliction of emotional distress over a little bit of cheerful noise. 40. After a customer totally drained his own battery by running the heated seats all night, a kind teenage employee used a portable jump box to get his engine started. Instead of just saying thank you, the driver pulled out a flashlight, inspected his engine bay, and claimed the plastic jumper clamps left a microscopic scratch on his dirty battery terminal. He loudly threatened to call his insurance company and aggressively demanded the theater pay for an entirely new engine block. Have you ever instantly regretted doing a huge favor for a total stranger? 41. We have a completely wild review from a guy driving a luxury sports car who complained that the vehicles parked around him were visually depressing. He claimed that having to look at old rusty pickup trucks and dented minivans completely ruined the glamorous Hollywood vibe of the evening. He formally requested that the theater establish a strict aesthetic dress code for automobiles and ban any vehicles older than 5 years from entering the main public viewing area. 42. One guy actually demanded a full refund because tuning his car radio to the designated station only provided audio, not a full video feed on his dashboard display. He sat in his luxury sedan looking directly down at his touchscreen, completely ignoring the massive 80-foot cinema right in front of his windshield. He furiously argued that the ticket price should include a high-definition digital download beamed directly to his dashboard. Why do people even leave their houses if they just want to stare at their center console all night? 43. An incredibly serious movie critic left a bitter review because the family parked in the space next to him was laughing too hard at a blockbuster comedy. He actually expected the management to strictly enforce a total library-level silence policy across a massive open outdoor field. He suggested the staff should patrol the dirt roads and issue formal citations to anyone expressing verbal joy. He genuinely believed his open car window gave him the supreme authority to dictate the natural emotional reactions of complete strangers. 44. We found an unbelievable complaint from a woman who was absolutely furious that her heavily buttered popcorn was entirely too hot to eat immediately. She grabbed the freshly popped bag from the busy concession stand and burned her tongue on the very first bite. Instead of just waiting 2 minutes for the snack to naturally cool down in the evening air, she loudly demanded the theater install a commercial blast chiller to bring all hot food down to a perfectly lukewarm temperature before handing it over to the customers. 45. A confused driver marched to the ticket booth and demanded somebody immediately climb up the 50-foot screen to remove a giant, terrifying monster. The teenager working the register grabbed a flashlight and realized a tiny, harmless moth had simply landed directly on the projector lens inside the booth. Because of the extreme optical magnification, it looked like a massive alien was actively attacking the romantic comedy. Even after the staff easily flicked the bug away, the driver still demanded hazard pay for his brief moment of sheer terror. 46. A family rolled into the drive-in with a massive 30-foot recreational vehicle and parked dead center in the very front row. When the staff politely asked them to move to the designated oversized vehicle section in the back, the father threw an absolute fit. He claimed his giant mobile home identified as a compact family car and loudly accused the local business of extreme vehicle discrimination. He seriously expected hundreds of people parked behind him to just stare at the fiberglass back of his bulky camper all night. 47. Leaving a highly aggressive online review, One disgruntled customer blamed the drive-in theater for the tragic historical ending of a famous disaster movie. He was furious that the giant luxury cruise ship actually sank at the end, completely ruining his cheerful Friday date night. He firmly believed the local projectionist had the power to secretly edit the final act and provide a happy alternate ending where the ship safely reached the harbor. Who gets angry at a parking lot attendant over a famous nautical tragedy from a century ago? 48. A profoundly confused tourist left a serious comment asking why the modern drive-in did not offer interactive touchscreen capabilities for the viewing audience. They genuinely thought that a massive painted piece of flat plywood sitting 100 yards away should function exactly like their personal expensive tablet. They were incredibly disappointed that they could not simply swipe their hand out of their car window to magically skip past the boring romantic parts. Do you honestly think modern humanity has become hopelessly dependent on our glowing smart devices? 49. Someone decided it would be a brilliant idea to watch a late-night horror movie while sitting directly on the cold metal roof of their station wagon in the middle of October. After shivering uncontrollably for an hour, they stormed the concession stand and demanded the theater provide complimentary electric-heated blankets and long extension cords for every single guest. They actively refused to just get back inside their own warm, climate-controlled vehicle, insisting the small family business was legally obligated to prevent their totally self-inflicted evening chill. 50. A furious teenager actually tried to call the state highway patrol because the drive-in staff told him to slow down. He was treating the bumpy gravel parking lot like a professional drag racing strip, kicking up massive clouds of dirt near families sitting peacefully in lawn chairs. When the manager told him the speed limit was 5 miles per hour, he loudly argued that his constitutional freedom of travel was being violently suppressed. He genuinely felt a private viewing area was the perfect place to test his loud new exhaust system. 51. A young couple fiercely demanded a total refund after missing the entire second half of a romantic movie because their own car windows completely fogged up. They sat in the back seat with the doors shut tight and the engine off, generating a massive amount of body heat and condensation. Instead of simply cracking a window or turning on the defroster, they marched out and accused the theater of pumping blurry air into the lot. Do you think they ever learned how basic thermodynamics work? 52. A teenager marched right up to the box office to complain that the movie audio was interfering with his personal phone call. He was sitting in the front row with his windows down, chatting on speakerphone with his girlfriend, and got deeply offended that the loud action movie explosions were making it hard for her to hear his voice. He seriously asked the manager to turn down the main radio broadcast for 20 minutes so he could finish his private romantic conversation. 53. A very important businessman demanded the entire feature film be paused because he received an unexpected phone call from his boss. He stepped out of his car, waved his arms wildly at the projection booth, and yelled that he needed 5 minutes of absolute silence to close a massive real estate deal. When the movie naturally kept playing, he marched over to the snack bar and threatened to buy the entire property just to fire the teenage staff. He truly believed an entire audience should wait for his personal networking call. 54. We found an absurd online review from a woman who gave the theater 1 star because the gravel parking lot was entirely too crunchy under her shoes. She wore expensive high heels to walk across an unpaved dirt field to reach the restroom, then loudly complained that the loud crunching rocks ruined the dramatic tension of the movie. She aggressively suggested the owners roll out lush red carpets across the entire 10 acres, just so she could comfortably fetch a large diet soda in absolute silence. 55. Topping off our list is a driver who furiously demanded immediate financial compensation for his totally wrecked front bumper. He completely misunderstood the name of the business, ignored all the marked parking spaces, and tried to literally drive his sedan straight through the wooden base of the projection screen. After violently crashing into the solid steel support beams, he yelled at the stunned security guard for not building a functional exit tunnel directly through the canvas. That wraps up our journey through peak drive-in absurdity. Humans really are the most unpredictable creatures on Earth. Now I want to hear from you. When it comes to watching a new movie, what is your absolute preference? Do you prefer the classic indoor theater with stadium seating, or the totally private comfort of a drive-in parking lot? Drop your choice in the comments below. If this madness made you laugh, hit that like button and subscribe for more. I will see you next time.